Around 9 months ago in late 2023, Joe Miller, a resident of Sugarloaf Township in Pennsylvania, went to eat his morning bowl of Lucky Charms. When he opened the box and pulled out the plastic sleeve containing the cereal, he noticed a small folded note 2 to 3 inches in size. From Joe's testimony, the note was sealed inside the plastic sleeve, occupying the same space as the cereal. Contained on the note was an incoherent assortment of political and conspiracy topics using strange punctuation and abbreviations. While the contents of this particular note were not officially released to the public in the news article about the event, the common belief is that this is the exact note later posted to Reddit on r/Schuylkill notes. The notes have been a prevailing phenomenon for years in Pennsylvania, snowballing from Schuylkill County. The notes have mostly been a topic of discussion in local hiking communities and possibly small online communities. At trailheads, deep within the woods, and in store-bought food items, notes have made their rounds. The notes have struggled to gain mainstream attention until Joe Miller's recent discovery was made, drawing users to the subreddit about the notes. While I'll touch on the content and details of the notes later on, here are a few photos of the common notes. In addition, some of the topics contained in the notes include the New World Order, Donald Trump, the CIA, CNN, AstraZeneca, and Elon Musk, to name a few. The strangeness of the Lucky Charms situation lured news channels and seemed to get the FDA involved, as the notes were allegedly found inside of sealed food products. Though this isn't the first time a note has been found in food packaging, at least 107 notes have allegedly been found in packaged food items, and with near daily discoveries, the numbers growing at an alarming rate. As of February 2024, 139 confirmed notes have been located all across Pennsylvania, though speculation puts this count higher. Publicly available map of note discovery locations created by Grace Shostak has 151 note listings at the time of writing, meaning unreported and undiscovered notes could be in the hundreds. Some notes have been found on hiking trails, and in few instances they've been found in large groups of up to 36, meaning notes have been placed in bulk. Around 9.3% of all discoveries fall outside of these two categories. For example, a note was allegedly found in a pair of jeans purchased from a thrift store in Pennsylvania. With the bulk of the notes being discovered in and around Pennsylvania, it leads many to believe that packaged products are somehow being tampered with at a storefront level. But at the time of writing, no evidence of post-production tampering has been identified. Many questions remain to this day, and unfortunately no solid answers are in sight. If I'm being honest, the notes look like a manifestation of some type of mental illness. Hypergraphia and graphoria are documented symptoms of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, and with political items from Donald Trump to seemingly innocent items like Lord of the Rings, the notes honestly don't have much coherent substance. To rip from Wikipedia, in psychology, graphoria or graphoria is a communication disorder expressed by excessive wordiness with minor or sometimes incoherent rambling, specifically in written work. Graphoria is most commonly associated with schizophrenia, but can also result from several psychiatric and neurological disorders such as aphasia, thymic lesions, temporal lobe epilepsy, and mania. Some ramblings may follow some or all grammatical rules, but still leave the reader confused and unsure about what the piece is about. On the other hand, hypergraphia is a behavioral condition characterized by the intense desire to write or draw. It's a symptom associated with temporal lobe changes in epilepsy and in Gershwin syndrome. Structures that may have an effect on hypergraphia when damaged due to temporal lobe epilepsy are the hippocampus and Wernicke's area, a small posterior segment of the superior temporal gyrus in the dominant hemisphere. Aside from temporal lobe epilepsy, chemical causes may be responsible for inducing hypergraphia. Some theorize the culprit to be a follower of the Saturn Storm Cube conspiracies, with some thinking these notes are trying to cast a spotlight upon the perceived truth these followers believe. To touch briefly on the Saturn Storm Cube conspiracy, after pictures of the static hexagon-shaped hurricane at Saturn's pole were released to the public, some believed it to be representing a cube viewed from an oblique angle. Online communities then extrapolated evil symbolisms from these pictures, kickstarting connections to other conspiracies, some of which are relating to the government and reality as we know it. r/Saturn Storm Cube, the hub for the conspiracy, has the following as their subreddit description. Beware the religion of the black cube. We are committed to exposing the occult agenda of the global cabal. Careful understanding of the universal esoteric messages led to a complete understanding of the truth. All related aspects are covered, such as God, the concealed primeval cube, the eclipse corona sign, alien identities, the day of the storm, the time matrix, the agendas of the ancient modern secret fraternal orders, and esoteric messages contained within ancient to modern media. Could our note-leaving friend be a dedicated follower of these conspiracies? Could they be trying to spread a message about the world that they perceive to be true? It's possible for sure. The open your eyes content contained within the note are very similar to the exposing the occult narrative that the Saturn Storm Cube community pushes. To add credence to the claim, you can easily find mentions of Saturn in many of the notes, including one I'll show you later on. Again, like all speculation about the notes, it's just that, speculation. While these notions will be interesting if true, there's no actual substance to verify these claims, and everything I'm saying here should be taken with a heaping pile of salt. I'm not really going to analyze the contents of the notes further, because quite frankly, extrapolating anything from the notes that answers questions as opposed to creates more seems highly unlikely. Feel free to make your own conclusions based on the evidence available, but to somebody somewhere, these notes have enough meaning and substance that the culprit feels that this message, whatever it may be, should be spread. I have no business speaking on disorders like schizophrenia, but to the average person, it's safe to boil down the content of the notes to a mental illness. So is food actually being tampered with? This question was raised to me 5 months ago as of late October 2024, after the post, found in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, in a jar of Nutella, was posted to the Schuylkill Notes subreddit by Reddit user Crick. Initially, details weren't clear. Was the note found sealed under the foil or above the foil but still under the lid? If the notes were found under the foil, it could change the narrative of the entire situation. After reaching out to the original poster on Reddit, the latter seems to be the case. And after looking into all known posts mentioning food items, no notes have actually been sealed inside of food items. It seems most likely that the notes are being slipped into pre-existing folds and seams in the product packaging. The notion that notes are being planted at a factory level quite simply has no supporting evidence. From the research I've done, 3 separate notes have been found inside boxes of Pocky. The most recent post, by Haunting Bridge, my friend found one today in her Pocky, gave me an opportunity to get some more answers on this phenomenon. After a brief chat with the user, it's now my understanding that the notes are indeed being slipped through the package seams. But what about the note in the Lucky Charms? I thought you said the note was found inside of the sealed plastic. Well, that was Joe's initial understanding. In the interview, Joe said he removed the plastic sleeve from the box to open it, and then proceeded to put the sleeve back in the box to pour his cereal. He then claims to pour his cereal, which is when the note falls out of the box and into his bowl. For most people, I feel the act of removing the sleeve fully from the box to open it is just odd and doesn't seem very likely. In no way am I calling Joe Miller a liar, but it seems more than likely that the note was in between the sleeve, falling into his cereal bowl when he poured his breakfast. If that's the case, the note could have been easily slipped through a seam in the packaging while still on a store shelf. This small possible confusion in detail makes a world of difference in practicality. With nothing coming out of the FDA investigation, it's likely that the FDA found no substantial evidence that notes were being found inside of sealed food. With the resources that the FDA has available, a bigger investigation seems likely, yet notes are still being found in food packaging, again giving credibility to the claim that notes are being planted at a storefront level. All the signs seem to point towards post-production tampering, and I'm confident to state that no, notes are not being found inside of sealed food products. Not just because of the evidence I presented, but because of the isolation of the phenomenon. With 92% of the notes being found in Pennsylvania, it makes factory-level tampering a lot less likely. Now, I would like to criticize some of the more mainstream news publications for the initial false understanding. For instance, the NBC-affiliated WJAC, local to Johnstown. Quote, according to other reports, similar notes have been found in other sealed food products across the Wyke Bars region. But from all evidence available, this simply doesn't seem to be the case. As a mainstream publication affiliated with NBC, you would imagine research to be more in-depth, or you could expect a degree of hesitancy when publishing unsubstantiated claims, despite the size of the story. Contrarily, if the claims are substantiated, proof would be beneficial. In reality, grammatically differentiating notes in food packaging versus notes sealed in food packaging is difficult and easily misunderstood. This possible error in wording is most likely what kickstarted the false notion that notes were found inside of sealed food packaging. Now back to the note that was recently found in the Nutella jar. After a brief conversation with Crick on Reddit, I was able to pay him to ship it over to the Great White North. At roughly 7 centimeters tall and 10.5 centimeters wide, the note is to be expected. Each note is likely cut from 8.5 by 11 printer paper, fitting 8 notes per page, and cut with scissors as opposed to a straight cutter. While I don't have the resources to view the machine identification codes on the note, I have no reason to suspect that the note is inauthentic. The note very well could be a copycat, though there's absolutely no way for me to confirm or disprove this possibility. In the future, I may look into getting the note analyzed to figure out what brand printer it was produced with and if the printer was inkjet or laser. Unfortunately, this video is already costing me more than I'd like. If I get positive feedback, a trip to Pennsylvania to do some more in-depth investigations and possible interviews isn't out of the question. The earliest mention of a note being found was on an episode of the Red Web podcast, stating that the earliest note discovery was in 2015. Reddit users from Pennsylvania have confirmed the existence of similar notes dating all the way back to the 1980s, though after deeper research it seems the notes described are tied to a local cult or church, and no other information online exists about these notes. The claims of notes being found in the 80s have not been confirmed, leaving the 2015 note as the first recognized note discovery. Consistent findings proceeded through 2018 up until present day, with no sightings ramping up to an unseen amount since late 2023. And after the subreddit to discuss the enigma was created on September 11th, 2023, a spotlight was cast upon the mystery, meaning note reportings are at an all-time high. Unfortunately, this spotlight encouraged previously mentioned copycats, making the situation even less clear. After the Pennsylvania homepage article about the notes in December 2024, note discoveries in food packaging decreased almost completely for close to 6 months. The belief was that the threat of the FBI and FDA was enough to scare the culprit out of stores for the time being. Again, as of October 2024, notes are still being found on a near-daily basis in food packaging and on trails. Unless something changes or the culprit crosses a line, it seems that the notes will continue to be dispersed in the foreseeable future. The first, but not the bulk of the notes, have been found in Schuylkill County, a county in Pennsylvania roughly 780 miles squared with Pottsville at the center, housing roughly 143,000 people. Despite the given name, Schuylkill notes, only 10.5% of the plotted notes have been discovered in Schuylkill County, though 92% of the notes have been discovered in Pennsylvania. Some outliers of discoveries include Hidalgo, Texas, Asheville, North Carolina, North Chicago, and Portland, Maine. Out of the 151 plotted note locations on the publicly available map, 12 have been found outside of Pennsylvania, roughly 8%, with one note strangely being found in a food package on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. 3 notes seem to have been found near Rock Creek Regional Park, north of Washington, 2 in food packaging and 1 seemingly in a Kohl's location. With the proximity of the notes and the oddity of one being found, presumably in a Kohl's, these notes are suspected to be copycats, as the general location and store choice just doesn't fit the MO of the culprit. Though again, this is just speculation. It's difficult to extrapolate where the culprit could live based off the map alone. It would be safe to assume that he or she lives near Valley View or Pottsville, but again, that's just an educated guess based on the discovery locations. Who and why to the story are murky at best. In June 2024, a strange post briefly appeared on the Schuylkill Notes subreddit titled "Please Leave the Messages Be." A lot of the posts on here are reprints that people find for attention, but those that cross paths with the messages, "Please leave it be." Why do you take it when you already know the words on the paper? You are preventing the message from being received. The person that leaves these is the postman and the letter writer, and you are the barking dog. If you find the message, just leave it be. Posted by the user Saint Alfonso, this post could be what we need to crack the case open. I reached out to the user 10 days ago at the time of writing this segment, unfortunately with no response. With seemingly dead-end government investigations and no real leads, the culprit will likely stay anonymous unless a legal line is crossed. As for why, I don't know. Well, we could just boil this down to a mental illness. There are more questions that need to be answered. Why has the culprit not been spotted, firsthand or on CCTV? What's the message and why the formatting? I wish I had answers to share. I tried very hard to get all the information available, but quite frankly, I don't believe we have all the clues necessary. Again, notes are still being found to this day, public knowledge of the notes are growing, as well as the online reach of the posts. Updates to the case are very possible, and if a line in the law is crossed, or thought to be crossed, it's possible to get a resolution to this mystery within the upcoming years. Other Pennsylvania residents may start their own investigations. Many have suggested the use of trail cams to find our elusive friend. If a development happens, rest assured I'll make an update video. Though as of now, the mystery of the Schuylkill notes will remain a mystery. I want to thank all the Reddit users that responded to my messages about the notes. Most of all, I want to say thanks to Crick, as he shipped me the note that made this video a little bit more interesting.